and welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She is a work life harmony and leadership coach, no other than Miss Arlene Cohen Miller. Welcome to Book 101, Miss Arlene. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. Well, my name is Arlene Cohen Miller, and I am a work life harmony and leadership coach for women. I'm also a transformational mentor for men and women. I also facilitate meditation and I do what's called soul readings. And I'm a retired, well, not a completely retired, but I'm a AV rated coach in Colorado, AV rated attorney in Colorado. And that's where I started out being in business for myself. And that's just a little bit about who I am.
Indeed, Miss Arlene, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. Thank you so much. So tell us, what is work life harmony and leadership coach?
Well, basically, what I find is that a lot of people today are very stressed. They're overwhelmed. They have a lot of plates spinning. They don't know how to do everything. They don't have the kind of support that, like my mother had when I was growing up. She had the luxury of being a stay-at-home parent, and most two family, if they have both parents there, they don't have that luxury anymore because of how expensive everything is. And so you have the difficulty of going out there in the business world and doing all that you do there, plus raising a family if you're doing that, or maybe you have elderly parents, but there's just a lot that everyone seems to have on their plate that makes it really hard to be calm and centered and confident, stepping forward and doing what needs to be done. And so I help people to let go of that overwhelm and find ways to feel confident and have a high self esteem from the inside out, so that even if they have a ton of stuff on their plate, they still have a way to handle it.
Interesting indeed, Miss Arlene. As a work life harmony and leadership coach, what are your short term and long term goals?
Well, I guess my short and long term goals are basically the same. It is to help people let go of stress, overwhelm, expectations, judgments, burnout that's holding them back and having them, be contract and play small and expand out and be more their, highest, clearest, brightest self. And I guess as an offshoot of that, I am working on stepping out into the keynote speaker workshop realm of the world, to maybe share my message to larger audiences.
Miss Arlene, what are your struggles as a work life harmony leadership coach?
Well, I don't know if I have struggles, but I do find that a lot of people that come to me, they're a couple of steps behind me and they are going through the same thing that I've gone through, earlier. And so I think it's just a matter of making sure that I have psychological clarity, that I am always working on myself to be the clearest, brightest coach and mentor that I can be, so that I can bring my best self to other people. Because um, I need to be psychologically clear to help them. And so I guess that's what I work on. That's what I'm always focusing on, is being clearer and brighter for the people that I'm serving and for myself.
Interesting indeed, Miss Arlene, and good luck to your goals. And what would be your advice for those people out there who want to be a a leadership coach?
Well, I would say follow your dreams, because got a diploma in coaching and mentoring when I was still a partner in a law firm, and I just had this inspiration that this was something that I needed to do. I felt that as a trained attorney, that my listening skills could be improved, and
Yes.
that a lot of the things they taught you as a coach and as a mentor were things that I could bring into what I was bringing to my then profession, and also to raising my then teenage son and my partner and the people that worked for me. So even though it was difficult, and even though for a couple of years I struggled and said, I don't have the time for this, I think we have the time for what we want to make the time for. And if you really have a dream, that there is a way to step forward and make it so. It might be really uncomfortable and stretchy. It was for me, but in the long run, I think otherwise we're going to have regrets of what we didn't do. So I guess that's my advice.
Definitely. Thank you for your advice, Miss Arlene. And let's talk about the book that influenced your journey.
Well, I don't know if it influenced, well, I guess it did influence my journey because I love this book. I love everything that Richard Bach has ever written because they're short books, but they just they have so much wisdom and love in them. And one of the things that I really love about the book is that it really drives home the truth that we create our own reality. If we what we focus on is what we get more of in our lives. If we choose to believe that we can do something, it's going to help to impel us forward to actually accomplish that. If we choose to believe that we cannot do something, that it's impossible, then we're going to put obstacles and difficulties in our path and fall short and fall away from our goals. So that's one of the main messages of the book that I just absolutely love. And it tells it with a lot of different stories about how we create our own reality. And, you know, yes, if I'm in a wheelchair and I've lost the use of my legs, I might not walk again, but we're not talking about stuff like that. We're just talking about, our dreams and goals and what we're choosing to accomplish. Even if we've had a really difficult life and it seems impossible, all we have to do is take one small step forward at a time and see what happens.
Very well said, Miss Arlene. Very well said. What lesson or quote from Richard Bach resonated with you the most and why?
Um, Well, that was the one, but it was really funny. I mean, because he was a reluctant Messiah, so people wanted to put him on a pedestal and think that he was, like a Messiah, like Jesus or something like that. And he didn't want anything to do with it. But he was a very intuitive and empathic person. He could help other people, and he could do things that people thought were impossible. Like he could sort of point his, of course, this is a fiction book. He could point his fingers at the clouds and just will them to disappear. And he was teaching one of his quote disciples, another guy, to do the same thing. And he was saying, I can't do it. I can't do it. And then he basically showed him how just by visualizing it and feeling it and imagining it to be so. And that applies in our life as well. Because if we really want to truly accomplish something, or, if we can visualize it as already happening, like have that little like cloud or bubble around us, and we visualize ourselves doing that, we visualize ourselves accomplishing it, we feel it to be real, and we make it a part of our life, so we just don't do it once, we do it often, and that can help us to propel us forward to actually create that in our lives. And that's sort of the cloud idea is which is it was kind of funny, because you have to have a sense of humor reading the book. He's very entertaining. Was just one small thing way that he was teaching his quote disciple, to take his place because he was ready to not do it anymore. He was a reluctant Messiah. He didn't want anyone's adulation. He had sort of had enough and learned everything that he could, and he was passing it on to the next person.
Again, very well said, Miss Arlene. Very well said. In what ways does the book challenge conventional views of reality and truth?
Well, because most people, if someone just is, because this guy was like, he had a little propeller plane, and sort of this other guy that was his disciple. And basically, what they did, I don't know what year it was a while back. They would take their little propeller planes and they would get permission to land in these fields, and it was just small towns, and it was way before the internet and all that kind of stuff. And then they would give people rides in these little propeller planes for about $3 for 5 minutes, and that's how they made their money. And they would go from town to town, and they, in that process, he was just learning a lot from this Messiah. And I guess what I really loved about it was is just they looked like ordinary people, and but they were taking the time to learn and grow and not just be the same in their lives. I think I forgot your question with my story, but yeah, that's what I wanted to share.
So, Miss Arlene, how did you interpret the Messiah's Handbook? Would you want one of your own life or the way interpret the author?
I'm not a messiah or anything like that, but I do feel, and I don't know if I can use my fingers and will clouds to disappear, and the other things that he did, but I really feel that, he really brings home the point, that as we think, so what shall we sow? If we really believe something is possible and we take steps in that direction, we can make it possible. Maybe we'll fall on our face and fail a bunch of times, but if we keep getting up and keep stepping forward, I feel it will happen. And so, yeah, there's a book. I highly recommend it. You can get it anywhere, like on Amazon and stuff like that. But I think that's a really good message, for all of
Yes,
us, because, the best inventors, like, the Wright brothers or Thomas Edison and the light bulb, they failed. They failed more times than most of us have ever tried. And so I feel like this book, Illusions, The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah, brings that home. And that it really is inspiring and it's really humorous. So, I love to learn laughing, and having a sense of humor
yes.
about life. And I find it's a lot easier, to learn that way.
Miss Arlene, how does the book portray the concept of free will versus destiny?
I don't know if I know the answer to that question. Um, I guess, as human beings, we do have free will. We can either choose to look at everything negatively or positively. We can choose to believe that we can do something or not.
Yes,
And, you know, so I believe that that can propel us forward so that we can actually accomplish those things. And, at the same time, maybe we all do have a destiny. And
true.
maybe it's a part of this process as well. And whether we step forward and fulfill that destiny maybe depends on how we actually see the world, see ourselves, and interact within it.
Totally agree with you, Miss Arlene. And one more I want to add manifestation, people. Always do manifestation that probably you're aiming to life will come true. So what do you think is the purpose of illusion according to the book?
I think the purpose is just um, to give us hope, to help us have a sense of humor about life, not take everything so seriously, and give ourselves a break and be able to enjoy life and the little things that it has to offer more.
Yes, life is too short, people. Seize your day and live at the moment. How does illusion compare to other spiritual or philosophical books you have read?
Well, this one is super easy to read because it tells maybe what other people teach in spiritual books through a story form, which I find is really, really easy to remember. People love stories. I love stories, and when we
Yes,
learn a story and we hear a story, it's much easier to remember the philosophy, the wisdom that's within that story than if we're just reading, do this or do that within a book. So I love the presentation of this because I find it enjoyable to read and it's not hard to remember because you just love the little stories that happen within it.
do you think there will be a follow up for this book, Miss Arlene?
I don't think so. I'm not sure if Richard Bach is still alive. I guess I should know that. He's written quite a few books, including Jonathan Livingston Seagull, and which maybe other people are familiar with. But I think he's written quite a few, but I'm not really sure if he's still alive or not. So I can't answer that question.
Hope that there will be a second book for this. It's really empowering. How does the book suggest about the nature of miracles? Do you agree with that view?
Um, well, his view is that we make our own miracles, and the reason that we don't make our own miracles is that we believe that we can't. And so I guess it depends on what you think a miracle is. If I don't think I can really poof something in the air and just create it in the moment. Maybe I could if I believed it. But those little everyday miracles that can happen, that are about love, that are about sharing and giving and receiving, we can create those for ourselves and with others. And so I believe that those kind of miracles that are about love and about peace and truth that we can help to create, in our lives, in the lives of others, by how we model that for them. All that other kind of stuff, it's interesting, but really, what does it matter? So whether I can move my fingers in the sky and make a cloud or disappear or not, it was the wisdom behind it that really mattered.
Indeed. Miss Arlene, if you could ask Richard back one question, what would it be about the book?
I guess it would be, what happened, what experiences did he have in life that helped him to be inspired to write this book? Because it doesn't feel like it's all, just hocus pocus, things that he just created. It feels like it comes from the depths of him. So I would want to know some of his own personal stories, and where those stories in the book came from.
Yes, indeed. Do you think Richard Bach truly evolved by the end of the book?
Well, Richard Bach was a writer. The people in the story, the Messiah was already Messiah, but the guy that was his disciple, he really did evolve. He began to see that he did create his own reality. He began to really appreciate his life a lot more. He became unattached to whether the Messiah stayed with him or not. He was just living more in the moment and really grateful for their time together and grateful for the experiences that he was having, instead of just living to fly from town to town, and land his little propeller plane in a field and make as much money as possible. So his priorities changed, his vision changed, his ability to slow down and really appreciate life changed. So he definitely evolved and he definitely grew.
Indeed. Did the book make you question any of our current belief or life assumptions?
Well, I'm a pretty out there kind of person, so it didn't make me question any of mine. I just enjoyed it. So maybe it would help. Maybe it could have people question things. I think it really, if you look at it as telling you that you need to believe something different, yes, it definitely could. But if you just sort of went along with the storyline and got the morals and the principles that were behind the stories, they feel really universal to me.
Mm. Indeed, universal people. What role does fear play in the book? And how do the characters learn to overcome it?
Well, the disciple and the Messiah really didn't have any fear, but it was really interesting because at the beginning of the book, the Messiah had stayed too long in one place, and all these people um, saw that he had the ability to heal them, and they were all coming to him, and they wanted him to heal him, and so he didn't like to stay places too long, and so the only fear that was really in the book was when he just said goodbye, I'm leaving, and he left all those people behind, because otherwise what was happening was they were becoming dependent on him, and they weren't taking responsibility for their own lives. And that's not really cool, because how can you learn and grow if you're looking to someone else to make everything right for you? So I guess there was some fear from the people that he left behind. And before he went to this other part of his life, and he met the disciple, the guy that became his disciple. So that was the only time there was fear, because the guy that was living the life of the Messiah, and the guy that was learning from this, as a disciple, I really didn't feel any fear from them. There was just a lot of curiosity and wonder and an increasing appreciation of life.
Yes, people appreciate life. Stop complaining and count your blessings. Right, Miss Arlene? Count your blessings.
Absolutely, absolutely, very well said.
So before we wrap up our discussion, Miss Arlene, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, book 101 review in fifth season, comedy 101 in second season, and food 101 in its fifth season as well, geography 101 and love letters in third season, and my baby podcast, mental health 101. Movie 101 review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please do listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Arlene, would you recommend illusions to others? If so, who would be benefit most from it?
I recommend any book by Richard Bach. He's very entertaining, and Illusions is a wonderful book. It's a short read. It's not difficult to read. You can probably finish it in a day or so. So I believe it's for anyone who just loves to be entertained with a story, and also, maybe would like to evolve and grow, and maybe be a little bit challenged, and then just be entertained and enjoy the story. But there's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of little gems of wisdom in there, so if you like gems of wisdom, you like a good story, you like to be entertained, this book is for you.
Indeed, people. So please do read it. Highly recommended by Miss Arlene Cohen Miller. Again, Miss Arlene Miller, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business itself as a coach?
Well, thank you. Yes, you can find me at Jewel, Jewel, consultancy.com. You can also search Arlene Cohen Miller anywhere on the web, and you'll find where I am at on social media. So thank you so much for having me here today.
You are most welcome, Miss Arlene. Yes, let's support Miss Arlene Cohen Miller because if you support her, more and more and more empowering coaching to come. So, Miss Arlene, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
More to come, people. See you soon.